All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about what it actually feels like to be psychologically overaware. And I'm not talking about the trendy social media version of being an old soul. We're talking about the real deal, which, let's be honest, is way less romantic and a whole lot more exhausting. Does this just hit a little too close to home? You're having a great moment, a genuinely good, authentic moment, and then, click, your brain flips a switch. Suddenly, you're not in the experience anymore, you're observing it from the outside. The awareness just floods in, and the moment's gone. Now it's just something to be analyzed. If you know that feeling, you're in the right place.
So what is actually going on inside a mind that's wired this way? Let's, peel back the layers and look at the internal mechanics of this constant state of observation.
Okay, so the big picture term for this is metacognition. It literally just means thinking about your own thoughts. And look, everybody does this sometimes. But for someone who is hyper-aware, this isn't a choice. It's an involuntary background app that is always running, especially when you would give anything to just turn it off.
This is probably the best analogy I've ever heard for it. You're trying to have a normal conversation, right? But that second tab is just narrating everything in real time. You just laughed a little too loud. Now you're trying to fix it. They totally noticed. Did they notice? And all of this is happening while you're trying to just nod and smile. The conversation is going on, but you're not fully there because that second tab is always, always open. But here's the thing. This trait doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's often a highly developed skill, not some kind of personal flaw. And understanding where it came from, that's the key. And it's really crucial to make a distinction here. While this constant mental scanning can absolutely feel like anxiety, it isn't necessarily a clinical anxiety disorder. It's a different kind of engine. It's less about a specific fear and more about this persistent low hum of analysis that you just can't seem to switch off.
A lot of the time, this skill was actually forged in an environment where paying extremely close attention was a form of self-protection. Think about growing up at a home with unpredictable moods, where reading the room wasn't just a social skill, it was a critical tool for keeping yourself emotionally and maybe even physically safe. You learned very early that attention equals protection, and you got really, really good at it.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The original threat. That unpredictable environment, it might be long gone, but the skill you developed, well, it never got the memo. Your nervous system is still on high alert, still scanning for smoke long after the fire has gone out.
So what's the actual cost of all this? The downside of being so perceptive is that it can feel like you see the puppet strings on everything, whether you want to or not.
You see all the strings. You'll be watching a movie and instead of just getting lost in the story, you're deconstructing the editing choices or analyzing whether your own emotional response feels authentic enough. Or you'll feel a moment of pure happiness and a part of your brain immediately starts taking notes, cataloging the feeling instead of just living in it. This is where a really simple grounding technique can be a lifesaver. Just focus on the feeling of your feet on the floor. Seriously, it can pull your awareness out of that analytical spiral and back into the present, even for just a few seconds. And this hyper-awareness, it creates a very specific kind of loneliness. It's not about not having friends. You might have amazing, deep relationships. It's that quiet, nagging feeling that you're experiencing the world on a frequency that other people just aren't tuned into.
I mean, how devastatingly accurate is that? You have this incredible ability to understand all the tiny nuances in other people. But you have this deep craving to be understood with that same level of depth. And you know just how rare that is. It can be a very isolating skill to have.
But it doesn't have to be a burden forever. So the big question is, how do we shift this from a source of exhaustion to a source of strength? Well, it all starts with a really fundamental change in your mindset. This is probably the most important question you can ask yourself. You notice everything. The tiny shift in tone, that split-second hesitation, the look in someone's eyes. But does noticing all that mean your interpretation of it is automatically correct? And here's the answer. No. Being this aware does not make you right. This is where so many of us get tripped up. The skill of noticing becomes overconfident. You have to learn to hold your perceptions lightly. Treat them like a first draft, a hypothesis that needs to be checked out, not the final verdict. This insight right here is the whole game changer. If you just collect observations without ever asking questions, without being genuinely curious about whether you're right or not, then all that powerful awareness is just fueling a more complicated, well-argued assumption. Curiosity is the antidote, and you can practice this.
Instead of your brain jumping to, "They're upset with me," try consciously shifting to, "I wonder what's on their mind." That tiny change moves you from a place of judgment to a place of connection.
Okay, so let's bring this all home and try to reframe this entire experience. What if this way of being isn't something that's broken? What if it's just a feature of your operating system? Because here's the thing, awareness is not the same thing as wisdom. They might be neighbors, but they live in different houses. You can see absolutely everything and still understand very little. Real wisdom, that requires more than just observation. It requires integrating what you see, giving it time, and being willing to be surprised by yourself and by other people. I really want you to let this sink in for a second. The way you move through the world, with all of its intensity and exhaustion and precision, it is not a malfunction. It is not something that needs to be fixed or dimmed. It is a valid way of being human. It's a way of being that comes with a very unique set of challenges. There's no doubt about it. But it also comes with a unique set of gifts. The ability to see what others miss, to connect patterns, to understand people on a much deeper level. These are not small things. So if you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. You are not too much. You are simply paying attention. And yeah, sometimes that's deeply inconvenient. But sometimes it's also what makes your perspective incredibly and beautifully valuable. And I'll leave you with this final thought to just mull over. What if you stopped trying to fix this part of you, and instead you started asking what it's for? What purpose could this incredibly powerful feature serve in your life if you learned how to steer it with curiosity and wisdom?